madness, huh?
There's carne asada. Check it out.
Wow.
Chef Big Dog up all night cooking.
Shut up and taste this, a mousse douche. Come here. Look at that.
You like it?
Yeah.
We're gonna cook like this.
We're being reviewed by the most important critic in the city. Now suddenly you're going to be an artist. Well, be an artist on your own time. It's my restaurant.
So you're threatening to fire me now?
I'm telling you what I'm prepared to do if you don't cook my menu.
It's up. The review's out. His dramatic weight gain can only be explained by the fact that he must be eating all the food sent back to the kitchen.
You didn't like what they wrote about you?
I didn't like it either.
Who cares?
I do, because I could have done better. I should have cooked food that I was gonna cook.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't do it. What are you writing?
Chef, that's not a good idea.
Just listen. I won't send it until we all say it's okay. Why don't you come by again tonight? I got a whole new menu just for you.
No.
That's not good.
Give me the phone. Give me the phone.
Don't do it. That's out there now, bro.
This happens.
Why would you do that?
You can't take that back.
Dad, did you post anything since last night?
You gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
You realize how many people have read this?
You're trending, bro.
You're never going to be happy cooking for someone else.
Food truck's a great idea. We're talking about a white-on-white 88 Chevy Grumman food truck. It's a blank canvas for your dreams. I'm gonna have him pull it around.
Thank you.
Don't thank me till you see it.
So what are you gonna do?
You're gonna laugh.
Tony, Carl's got a taco truck.
For real?
I was so jealous when I heard your voice. I was like, that's what I want to do.
I get to touch people's lives with what I do, and I love it. And I want to share this with you. You ever try andouille sausage?
No.
It's spicy. You like spicy?
No.
It's not so spicy. Come on. See, you're sorry you sat in the back now, aren't you?
Well, should we shout?
Yeah, let's try.
All right. We will begin with a few questions up here, and then you're all probably hungry, so we will get to them very quickly. John, you hosted Dinner for Five for years.
Yes.
You were a guest judge on Top Chef.
Yes.
Is this a subject you've been wanting to bring to film for a while?
Yeah, food is very cinematic. You know, being somebody in a creative field, and chefs and filmmakers are very similar. They both, they both have a lot of opinions. They're both very detail-oriented, but really, if anybody doesn't like their food or their movie, they're miserable. They're miserable. So it was a great way to tell a story about the creative process from the perspective of somebody, except movies about movies to me are just not interesting to watch. As a matter of fact, most things aren't that interesting to watch in movies. But there's something about food, like the opening of Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, or Big Night, like Jiro Dreams of Sushi. To me, it's just hypnotic. And maybe because I love food, but I think it's something that's very cinematic. The colors, the movement, it's very hypnotic. And so I wanted to do something about a chef. Plus, since I read Anthony Bourdain's book, Kitchen Confidential, that whole culture became really interesting to me. And now with our culture having like Top Chef and documentaries about chefs and books by chefs, they just seem like really good romantic figures. And so it seemed like a really good subject matter for a small film. Plus, they get their careers pull them away from their families. There's a very louder. It's bad enough you have to listen to Spider-Man through the whole movie. And let me tell you something, when I'm mixing a big action movie, I'm like, bring up the subs, man. I want to knock off the movie next door. Oh, boy. The rhino's coming through the... Here we go now. It's the subtle stuff.
You know, there also seems to be another subplot here, and that was technology. Can you talk a little bit about twinning those two?
The Twitter thing, it just seems to me that was a wonderful, it wasn't supposed to be about Twitter, but if you remember, any old enough to have seen Swingers, you guys know that movie?
Yes! Right here.
There we go. I'll sign it. So in that movie, there's the answering machine. And the answering machine became, it was a predecessor to Siri.
Yep.
He actually, the character ends up her. And technology really is part of our lives, and it was nice to tell a story, especially when you're doing a small film like this. It's not a big studio film where if you confuse anybody, you've got to cut it out. Here, I figured the subtlety of that relationship of the father not knowing about Twitter and the son knowing all about it really reflects what goes on in my house with my kids. I know Twitter pretty well, but there's a lot of people who don't, especially chefs, and they tend to be passionate characters. I thought it was a great way. Much like the answering machine in Swingers, technology amplifies how awful that night is. Here, it just seemed like a wonderful opportunity to create the crash, and then to use it. Twitter giveth and Twitter taketh away. I don't know. It's kind of this moment. I don't know if it'll play in 5 years, but for right now, it seemed like a way that really depicted accurately what social media feels like, and visually too, with all those little birds and visual effects. I thought it was a cool little layer.
We're going to open up the floor to questions in just a minute, so think about them and raise your hand. But before we do, John, I want to ask you about that scene with the critic.
Okay, wait a minute. What do we? This one's good. What do we not point to? Do we not point to? Is that the speaker? Maybe we'll keep myself straight.
I love that scene, although I could feel my testicles receding a little bit. Was this a fantasy embodied for you, and have you dreamed of doing this to a critic before?
In the food business, the critics are very different. Every word is important that each critic writes, because that critic has shut your restaurant down. Now you know what it's like, although I enjoy reading your criticism, and there are a few people that I really respect because they've been at it for a long time. When you're making a movie, the reviews come in so fast that it's honestly what reading critics is really just refreshing the Rotten Tomatoes page and watching the number go up and down. Because it really has become a statistic as opposed to what it is in the theater or the food world. And honestly, as I tried to show here, the critic isn't wrong. He's right. The problem is this guy's broken. And he wants to blame the critic, but even when he goes off on the critic, at first it might sound kind of romantic and like wish fulfillment, but if you listen, anytime you're screaming in somebody's face, you're not getting to me, that's not a good sign that you're winning the argument.
Do we have some questions here for John? We do have some time. John, we have a question here. Before we get to that, one thing I did want to ask is the grilled cheese scene. We work on this. I mean, even the sound of the grilled cheese was great.
So I have, in addition to the wonderful cast I was able to get because of the relationships I've built over the years with different actors and working on different projects, Skywalker Sound, the ranch. If you like Star Wars or George Lucas or Raiders, it's this beautiful ranch up in Marin that's just been built like a heaven on earth for a geek. And technically this wonderful sound facility where they do all the Star Wars movies, we did all the Iron Man films, all the Pixar films. And I said, it wasn't a mix we could afford, because I got the same people working on this movie that would have worked that worked on Iron Man with me. And I said, you can't taste the movie, so you have to have great music, and you have to have great sound effects so that people feel like they're actually experiencing it. And so the crunch of the grilled cheese sandwich or the sizzle were very specifically Foleyed and laid in there and mixed. And we got so hungry watching all day that we literally would buy all the ingredients from the movie, different ones for different nights, and together the whole crew would get together in a big commercial kitchen they had at the bunkhouse, and we cooked every meal that's in the movie, and it was fantastic. It was a great week.
We have a question on the left there.
Can we expect to see that face on the ground, and does the corn starch stay
Okay, so could we expect to see the LFA truck around, and does the cornstarch thing really work? The first thing, the cornstarch, it definitely does. It was from, I read about it at first in Kitchen Confidential, they talked about it, and I gave that book to John Leguizamo as part of his research. Great book, many years old, but the first one of the real romantic and honest view of kitchen life. Which also led to why I had such the Latino music and Latino cast. I mean, kitchen culture, and this is where Hollywood kind of gets it wrong. Kitchen culture is Latino culture. There's no way to pull the two apart. The training is French, but as soon as I got to the real kitchens and worked with Roy Choi, English was a second language. That was the Latino world. And that's also why I didn't want to put subtitles in, which I thought was kind of hearing the laughter tonight, I think it was a good choice. So yes, the cornstarch on the nuts works. And the other thing was the El Jefe truck. The food was amazing to eat. And I've been bugging Roy Choi about doing it. He just opened another restaurant called Pot in Koreatown. He's got like 4 restaurants going. He's got the Kogi truck, which is amazing, which is kind of the real story why I chose him, because his experience was not different than this. I think we're going to try to do a pop-up on Thursday at Pot with the food from the movie. So check my Facebook or my Twitter, and if we can get it together, we'll do cubanos and stuff, because it's really good. I'd love to open a restaurant like El Jefe. So we're looking into it. I want to, right? Yeah.
Woo! We have time for a few more questions.
There's like little moments like.
Get someone in the back as well.
First of all, just want to shake your hand, sir.
Thank you. Here, what's your question?
My question is basically a 2-part question. But first of all, like I said, you're one of the reasons why I went to film school. Why my friend and I here actually remade 2 scenes for my film class from Swingers.
Sue you.
It's for a project. But I saw some influence from the movie Swingers with the door and the phone call to Percy.
Sure.
But 2-part question. One is, did you ever think that when you made Swingers back then that it'll lead you up to Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, up to now? And the second part is, for all the things that Roy Choi or any other chefs that mentored you in film, do you remember any offhand that you could just cook automatically for family and friends?
So you heard the questions. Thank you for making them sure you have the mic. You could have it all night.
Sorry, I'm excited.
Thank you for being brief. The first question was, did I ever imagine I was making Swingers? Well, I thought Swingers would be like a good acting thing for me, and it did. It turned into writing and directing and all these things I didn't expect to come of it, and I actually made a lot of money as a script, as doing rewrites of movies that never got made, and it wasn't until much later that I directed Made. So I didn't know what it would lead to, but I didn't think it would lead to me making big action movies. I didn't know anything about that. I was always a geek and always read like Starlog and loved the behind-the-scenes stuff on Star Wars. So I was very happy to have that opportunity. And Robert Downey, when he came in, he was like a guy that, I liked him from before, but, nobody, when I met with him, it was more like taking a shot on somebody who a lot of people weren't betting on at the time. Yeah. So really when that happened with Iron Man, it was both of us kind of at the same time, just shot. And he, he's just kept going and going and going, and just shows you the hard work. It doesn't, if you think you've got it bad, Robert had it worse, and look at him, because hard work and talent, and he's really dedicated, and did me a really good turn by coming back and doing this. He's the biggest star in the world now. He came and did this for nothing for me, and so I'm very grateful to the guy. I love him. As far as what can I cook, I'm pretty good, but when my training, I spent like 3 months working with Roy in the kitchen. He sent me off to culinary school first, and I worked his kitchen, I worked the line, and I did full shifts, and for real. And the interesting thing is, when you work and train in the kitchen, what you learn to do is you learn how to follow directions safely and consistently and quickly, and you learn how to season. And that's really all you learn. You can't do the thing where, like on Top Chef, make a great meal out of these ingredients. That comes later. There's only one general in the Army. You're just a soldier. But the fact that you could throw me on a line on a dinner service and I could help more than hurt, is like a huge accomplishment for me. It doesn't sound like much, but if you've ever been in a kitchen, you just feel like you're all thumbs, you're in the way. It's dangerous, you get burnt, you get cut. And now I can jump in and be part of that culture, and that helped me understand how to tell the story better. And I miss it, honestly, and so I do cook a lot at home, mostly the dishes that Roy taught me. And to execute simple dishes well, like that grilled cheese, like that brisket. That guy, Aaron Franklin, there's 3 ingredients in that thing. It's salt, pepper, and brisket, and that's it. And that's the most amazing flavor you've ever tasted. So really, being a chef is about being attentive and present and in the moment to the details and loving that presence. And I think that's why it's such a romantic notion, because it's all about when you're cooking, you're in the moment, and when you're eating and serving, it's just all about that one moment. And in our society where everything's about everybody looking at their phones and DVRing and everybody off in their own room on their iPads, it's the communal, very human, personal interaction is such a special thing that ultimately in the movie leads to the family coming together as being present for one another. And I think that's kind of the lesson for our time, is you gotta just stop and have that moment and be present, which is so hard for me to do. But I think that's what leads to good work and a happy life.
We got time for a couple more. There's one in back.
Si, do, re, do, si, do, do, la, do, re, mi, re, do, si, la, sol, si, la. Hipócrita ya, cuenta las cosas atrás.